everyone. Dave Dubeau here with another episode of the Property Profits Real Estate Podcast. Today, zooming in all the way from beautiful Los Angeles, California, Bill Gross, like gross profit. I love that. Bill, glad to have you here. And if you haven't had the pleasure of meeting Bill, he is a longtime real estate entrepreneur. He's a realtor. And what I'm most interested in finding out more about from Bill is he's a specialist when it comes to dealing with probate and probate properties and probate opportunities in real estate. So, Bill, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much. Excited to be here.
So, Bill, let's jump in. First of all, for those of us who aren't super familiar with probate, I mean, we've all heard that term thrown around and whatnot. What does that mean when it comes to us as real estate investors, real estate entrepreneurs? How could that fit into our smorgasbord of opportunities?
Well, I think the thing to pay attention to most is, in general, when there's a property and it's in probate, it means there's a motivated seller who is going to sell the property one way or the other. Now, that's not always true that they're going to sell, but once they list it, they've made that decision, unlike a retail seller who may change their mind or not. So as investors, we're always looking for someone with motivation. And the vast majority of properties in probate were owned by somebody else. They never lived there. The condition is such that nobody wants to really take it over in the family. And so it's a good pool of motivated sellers, and in particular for the fix and flip market, properties that need to be brought back to the market after some rehab or some remodeling.
Yeah. So basically, to back it up even more, because again, we've heard of probate, but probate is basically somebody passed away and here's their property, and now the family or whoever's the executor, whoever's in charge of liquidating the estate has to figure out what to do with this property. Am I saying it pretty much right there?
Yeah, I would a colleague of mine phrases it like this: that probate is when you sue yourself, and the proceeds end up with your family or legacy. In the United States, we have a tool called living trusts. I think you have something similar in Canada, where you can kind of like put the assets in a third party entity, like a corporation, but it's a living trust, to avoid probate. And so probate's what happens when you don't prepare properly. And it basically is the way the state will decide how your estate, whatever you have left over, gets divvied up to heirs after taxes are paid, after all creditors are paid, after the attorneys are paid, after the court is paid, how it gets divvied up. So anytime, if you like the government to make those decisions for you, probate is your answer. Most people find it's more efficient to avoid the government. I'm saying that facetiously, obviously, but probate is really when the government gets to decide how your assets are divvied up after your death.
Okay, very interesting. So it's basically people that haven't structured their finances, their personal property properly, right, before they pass away. Now, right, again, things are a little different up here in Canada. I do not claim to be an expert at all. I have experienced both my parents passing away and getting to be the one that deals with all of that fun stuff. Both of them had wills, yet still things went through probate.
There you go.
Here, so same thing in the States. Even if you have a will, your things are going to go through probate.
The biggest misconception about probate is people think, well, if I have a will, I avoid probate. Not true. The state will use your will to determine how to, in the probate court, divvy up your assets after taking off all the fees and attorneys and all that. So a will is adjudicated in probate court, as opposed to living trust, which really, again, creates a third entity that has the assets. So as long as they're in your name, you're letting the government decide what to do with it. And a will it can help expedite the process a bit, but wills can be fought, contested in probate court. And even if the will is not contested, you still have to go through the probate process to effectuate the will.
Right.
So it really does not do the job that most people think it does.
Okay, good point. So, Bill, explain to us what's the big opportunity for us as real estate entrepreneurs to focus on probate properties. How do we find them? How do we negotiate? How do we get them under contract? How do we buy them? What do we do with them once we've got them? What are you typically seeing people do? I know you mentioned this is very popular with flippers,
right?
But walk us through the process if you don't mind.
So I'd say there's a couple opportunity points for professionals, investors, wholesalers, and agents. Pre-probate. So I know a lot of full-time investors, full-time marketing people, people who are mailing and doing professional marketing will buy a database of people who've passed that's cross-referenced to people in property, and then they skip trace it to figure out the phone numbers, and they'll mail and or call those people, assuming somebody passed and has property that somehow has to be disposed of. And most property does after somebody's passed. If they're living in it, somebody else is going to move into it. So I would say that's the biggest one, though. There's a high threshold of buying the data. That's probably expensive data to get. There's a company, probatedaily.com or foreclosuresdaily.com, same company. They sell pre-probate data, and successordata.com sells pre-probate data. So that's an option. Another place I would say that most likely where I get involved with investors and wholesalers regularly is they find a property and discover it's in probate or discover it needs to go to probate. So if they discover it's in probate, having somebody in that county who knows the rules and knows the law to help you get through that's critical. And I do classes for investors, wholesalers. I have a weekly call where I kind of train them on some of the fundamentals. But it might be easier just to find somebody in your county who really knows those rules, knows the law. Because, I find that finding deals sometimes is overcoming the obstacles that the competition left. And it's not that I want to look for extra work, but there are people who are trained to avoid probates because they're too hard. Well, to me, that's a sign saying, come by me, because if nobody else is going to try them, I'll check it out and sift through and find the good deals. So I would say that investors will typically do it in their normal marketing, find a deal that's in probate. And if you're in the States, particularly if you're in California, call me, text me, email me, glad to help you, or find your local expert to help you unravel that deal. Then there's what you find a property, it's abandoned or it's whatever it is. You talk to the owner, they want to sell it, but they'll say something like, I got it from my grandfather and I've lived here my whole life, but it's in my grandpa's name and I can't refinance it and I can't sell it. Well, that's a probate. That needs to be probated, the grandfather's estate, maybe the father and mother's estate. And so what I do is help that investor get it through the probate process much more efficiently. If that buyer or owner, I should say the seller, goes and looks for an attorney, odds are they're going to find an attorney who doesn't really know what they're doing. Literally today, I was talking to an attorney who didn't know they have to, in this particular case, they have to publicize the sale in the MLS and they have to get a court-appointed probate appraisal. He didn't even know that. And I often wonder, how can you charge your customer money as a client money as an attorney and not know the basic rules? Well, a lot of them are good at drunk driving or marriage, divorces or other litigation, don't know probate, but you really need to find a probate specialist attorney. So I find investors and wholesalers who will come to me and say, this property needs to probate, what do we do? And my job then becomes, sometimes it's a probate service. We can avoid probate and have a document prep company that might cost $600, $1,200, as opposed to an attorney who might charge $5,000, $10,000, or $20,000 or more, depending on the case and the complexity. And then you want it done quickly, because if you're an investor, you want to get the property turned over before anybody finds it, and you want to have some control in the process. So I would say I often work with investors who find a property, it needs to be probated, and then I help them expedite through the probate process.
Wow, that's another fantastic idea. Hold on to that thought for a sec. We'll be right back. Now, are you a real estate investor who's run out of cash or credit to grow your portfolio? Are you looking to grow your portfolio using other people's money and raising capital? Well, I want to show you how to raise 6 figures or more in 6 weeks or less at my upcoming Investor Attraction Workshop. You can get your ticket and find out all about it at investorattractionworkshop.com. We're going to spend a full day taking a deep dive into this roadmap that I've used to raise millions for my deals, and I've helped other people just like you cumulatively raise hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for their deals as well. So again, you can check that out at investorattractionworkshop.com. And as a loyal listener to the podcast, you'll get 50% off your ticket when you use the discount code podcast. That's right, discount code podcast at investorattractionworkshop.com. See you at the next workshop. So talk to me a little bit about what you do with your business, Bill, because it sounds like you're a heck of a lot more than just your normal realtor, although you are a realtor as well. So how does your business work? What do you actually do? Who are your clients? What do you do for people?
So, I have three clients. I would say I have, estates who have property to sell, who need somebody to sell the property, and also need somebody who can help them find the right path legally. And I would say
So that's like a listing kind of a thing, plus helping people go through the steps of, helping the people that inherited the property get rid of the property. Is
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes it's finding the right investor to buy it for cash. Sometimes it's listing the property. Sometimes it's helping them through the probate process by getting the right service or attorney to handle their particular case. So I work with estates a lot. I work with attorneys a lot who know I'm an expert on this, and I'm like a free paralegal or a free colleague to review the paperwork and the process and make sure that they do what they need to do. And then I work with real estate agents. I get referrals all the time from agents who have a lead, but it's a probate. They're not sure what to do with it. They need somebody to come in and kind of close the family member on working with them as an expert, and that's where I come in and fit in that role.
So working directly with families, that's number one. Working with attorneys, that's number two. And working with
agents,
real estate agents. What about investors? Do you work with investors, or are you an investor yourself, or how does that work?
Well, no, I do probably flip 2 properties a year. I don't like holding property, and I don't like fixing property, just my personality. So I do about 1 or 2, what I call lipstick flips a year, where maybe it's a bunch of junk, I junk it out, and then send in Molly maids and clean it up and put photos and put it back on the market. So if I find something that can be done that quickly, I'll do that myself. I work with investors a lot in that I'll find properties off market, and I know different investors who've bought my properties over the years, and I'll call them up and say, hey, I got this deal. They want a cash offer this, can you do it? And if they say yes, they're in the deal. If they say no, I thank them and I'll call somebody else. So I do deals with investors regularly, and I have investors call me on my listings regularly as well. So I work with investors, it's really a lot of my business is working with investors, but I don't look for it. It kind of comes to me by virtue of the listings.
All right. So Bill, if somebody's watching this interview and it's still sounding like it's a complicated pain in the butt to get involved with probate properties, what would you tell these people? Obviously if they're in LA, they can call you up and work with you, but what's the big benefit in your mind of focusing on getting educated about probate properties and focusing on this niche?
I think focusing on anything is an advantage. And I try to look for places where there's synergies. So you asked me who I work with. Well, I work with estates and attorneys and sellers and agents because each one of them makes me better working with the other ones. And I'd say the same as an investor. The reason why to go into probate, I enjoy it. I think you have to enjoy what you do. If you don't enjoy dealing with probate and legal issues, there's other ways you can find investment properties. But I think that when you enjoy something and you do it consistently, you start to learn, and that learning becomes an asset to your business. So for me, I would say, why should somebody get into probate? If you're interested in it and you have some proclivity towards that or skills that are actionable in that area, why not? Or maybe
what would be some of the skills that would be like, who do you see being most successful in this arena?
A paralegal. They work for an attorney, they're a paralegal, they're making a salary, they want to invest in real estate on the side. Why not check out probate? That one's, I come across some of those people naturally. Or an attorney. I think an attorney is another natural where you already know the law. You may not want to do probate as a legal profession, but certainly you can unravel those things and you can do things that other people can't by virtue of being an attorney. And I also just feel like there are people who like to solve problems and like to work through and don't get frustrated with those details. I do think you have to come from being a service. There are people who teach probates as kind of like the vulture method. Families desperate to swoop in, steal the property, and then make a fortune on it, and they make a lot of money. And I'm not disparaging them, but I try to be more of I'm on their side, trying to help out a family. And if they really appreciate a quick closing and a cash sale, and I can help effectuate that, then that's the price they leave on the table. But the benefit is they're getting cash quickly and reliably and painlessly as possible. Yes. So I think anybody who enjoys learning about these things. Also, I would say, to answer your question before, find the local probate expert in your area. If you're not going to be it, then I think real estate is all about partnering with other people. Find somebody in your area who knows that business. Search the MLS listings. for probates and see who's the listing agent that consistently has more. And invite them for coffee or lunch, or pick their brain and find out, will they work with you? Do they have listings they can show you? And seek to work with them if you have a deal in particular.
Yeah, very good advice, Bill. All right. If people want to find out more about you and what you do, you got a couple of different resources for people. Where should they look?
Well, I host probateweekly.com Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific time every week, where we have investors, wholesalers, families, estates, and agents come on. We talk about probate real estate. So that's probateweekly.com Thursdays at 4 o'clock. And then if you want to see the YouTubes of that, past episodes, is probateweeklyepisodes.com for the YouTube channel. And then my website is thelaprobateexpert.com, THELA probateexpert.com. And on the far right, you'll see some resources if you're interested in getting data. I do a couple of videos reviewing some of the data sources. None of them are affiliated with me. I don't get any income from them. I have some discount codes for you. If you want to get in that business, we'll help you a little bit with that as well.
Fantastic. Bill, thank you very much. It's been educational.
Dave, thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
All right, everybody, take care, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye. Well, hey there. Thanks for tuning into the Property Profits podcast. If you like this episode, that's great. Please go ahead and subscribe on iTunes. Give us a good review. That'd be awesome. I appreciate that. And if you're looking to attract investors and raise capital for your deals, then I'm going to invite you to get a complimentary copy of my newest book, right back there. There it is. The Money Partner Formula. You can get a PDF version at investorattractionbook.com. Again, investorattractionbook.com. Take care.